In FlyingPress, you can integrate with Cloudflare full-page caching to cache full HTML pages in addition to static files like images, CSS, and JavaScript. This results in a faster time to first byte, or TTFB, globally, because Cloudflare will cache these HTML pages at multiple locations around the world. Even if your server is in Europe, for example, cached pages will load quickly in Canada and the US as well. I'm Elijah from FlyingPress, and in this video, I'll show you how to set up your Cloudflare full-page caching integration in just a few easy steps. Before we begin, I want to test the TTFB, or time to first byte, on our demo site. If you're not familiar with this performance metric, let me give you a quick crash course. TTFB, or time to first byte, is a measure of the time between starting navigation to a page and when the first byte or piece of data arrives from the server. It's an important performance metric for measuring the connection setup time, which impacts all visitors to your site and can tell you a lot about how responsive your server is. You've probably seen this metric on any of the major website performance testing tools. And aside from upgrading your server, a slow TTFB can be hard to improve. That's where Cloudflare's full-page caching comes in. By storing cached copies of full HTML pages on various servers globally, it reduces the TTFB for visitors, since the response is coming from servers that are physically closer to their location. I want to note that you can also enable Cloudflare full-page caching for WordPress using Cloudflare's automatic platform optimization feature, but it costs an extra $5 per month per site. With FlyingPress, there's no additional cost per site, plus it handles the configuration for you automatically and purges only the necessary pages when content changes. Now that you know what TTFB is, let's go ahead and run our first test without the full-page caching integration to get a baseline response time. We'll use flyingttfb.com for this test, which is our own tool that shows us how fast our site loads from 22 different locations around the world. The first thing we're paying attention to is the response time. Our demo site is on a server located in Germany, so the response times are pretty good throughout Europe and some parts of the US, but it's much slower elsewhere. Another thing we want to check is the cache hit status, which we can see if we expand the test location details below the map. Here you can see that we do have content being served from the FlyingPress cache, which is great, but the CF cache status, or Cloudflare cache status, says dynamic, which means the HTML content wasn't served from the Cloudflare cache for this request. Let's fix these slow response times by enabling Cloudflare full-page caching in FlyingPress. In WordPress, navigate to the FlyingPress admin page, then open up the Content Delivery Network, or CDN tab. Make sure to toggle on the CDN feature. Next, choose Cloudflare as the CDN provider. And now you need to plug in either your Cloudflare Global API key, which will require an associated email address, or your account API token, which does not require an email address. Both of these authentication methods work just fine, but the global API key option does come with a lot more power and can't be restricted like an account API token can. If this key is compromised via an attack on a connected site, it could give an attacker access to your entire Cloudflare account, so keep this in mind while dealing with the global API key. For this reason, we do strongly recommend using an account API token instead of a global API key, but I'll show you how to set it up via both methods. Let's start with the more secure account API token method. In Cloudflare, access the account you'd like to use, then go to Manage Account, Account API Tokens in the menu. Click Create a Token. Here, you can give the token a name, and then specify which domain the token has access to. Then, for extra security, give this token access to cache purging, as well as the ability to read and edit cache settings. It will also need read and edit access to zone transform rules. Set it to never expire, click Review Token, then click Create Token. Now you can copy your newly created API token, paste it into FlyingPress, and turn on page caching. No email address is required when using this method. And because we gave it explicit access to only the domain required, as well as only the capabilities required for the integration, it's much less dangerous if this token leaks. If you want to use a global API key instead, navigate to your Cloudflare account, then near the top right, website, access your profile. Next, go to the API Tokens tab. Under API Keys, find Global API Key and click View. This may require some additional authentication steps before Cloudflare will show you the key. Back in FlyingPress, paste in the API key and the associated email address. Finally, enable page caching via the toggle below the credentials fields. Now that we have Cloudflare's full page caching enabled via FlyingPress, let's test our TTFB again over at flyingttfb.com. You can already see a huge improvement, but on the first test, you might still notice a few misresponses for the Cloudflare cache. That's because Cloudflare is caching the pages for the first time on this request. Subsequent tests will show a hit response from the Cloudflare cache, and you'll see a much faster TTFB for those requests. As you can see, FlyingPress's integration with Cloudflare full page caching is incredibly simple to set up and helps you resolve the age-old issue of slow server response times for your WordPress pages. I'm Elijah from FlyingPress, and if you want to speed up your site today, visit FlyingPress.com to learn more. Thanks for watching.